Now, look, I've got some really sad breaking news that Kevin Campbell, I think a lot of you will have heard that he was taken seriously ill recently. Former Arsenal Everton striker has died at the age of 54. It's one of those difficult situations where we heard about the news about sort of 9 o'clock this morning, but out of respect, of course, you don't want to mention it until the family have released the news. You will probably have seen it on social media. Arsenal have just tweeted about it. I've done lots of shows, Charlie, where somebody has passed away, and you want to do them justice. But I'm just so gutted because he was, and I didn't know him amazingly well, but he was a great bloke. He was just a lovely guy, like brilliant footballer, and that's fine. And we will talk to lots of people who have played with him and have watched him play. And if you are an Evertonian or an Arsenal fan or a Forest fan or anyone who saw him and you want to talk about Kevin Campbell, the phone lines are totally open for you. 03717 223344. But he was a guy with amazing energy. Always came in, always wearing that bow tie. Just absolutely,
gentle giant is thrown around, but he was a gentleman, wasn't he?
Total gent.
A real character. I mean, complete opposite of the handful. I can imagine he was horrible to play against. Handful on the pitch, but always such a nice person.
A wonderful bloke. And it's just incredibly sad news. And our hearts totally go out to his family and his friends, because 54 is absolutely no age at all. So we'd love to hear from you if you have fond memories of Kevin Campbell, because such a brilliant footballer and such a brilliant bloke. Here's talkSPORT's Tom Clayton looking back on his life and career.
A clinical striker on the pitch, a true gentleman off it. Kevin Campbell started his career in Arsenal's youth setup. After 2 loan spells at Leyton Orient and Leicester, he rose to prominence in the Gunners' first team, scoring 8 in 10 games during their title run-in in 1991.
Here's Campbell. Oh, a box from the blue! But Arsenal eventually. It's taken them 70 minutes to take the lead.
Now, this wasn't the only silverware he'd win for his hometown club. Not only did he help Arsenal win their FA and League Cup double in 1993, but he featured prominently in their 1994 season, scoring 19 times as they went on to win the European Cup Winners' Cup.
A tactical triumph here for George Graham.
In that team, whenever we had something to hold on to, it was we always knew we could get across the line. And what a night! What an unbelievable night in Denmark that was. It really was special.
In the summer of 1995, he headed to the banks of the River Trent. 3 seasons at Nottingham Forest involved relegation to the Championship, but his 23 goals the following season led the club straight back to the top flight in 1998. Despite his fine form that season, Forest's shock decision to sell him to Trabzonspor prompted Pierre van Hooijdonk to famously go on strike. Such was his anger at losing his prolific partner up top. But the unorthodox switch to Turkey demonstrated the courage and conviction of Campbell. Having learned that the squad had not been paid for months, he led a strike of his own, which prompted the players to receive their wages. This opened the door for a return to the Premier League, this time for strugglers Everton. Super Kev single-handedly kept them up with 9 goals in his first 8 games. His loan move was made permanent, and Campbell not only went on to score 36 more times for the Toffees, but became their first ever black captain. The boy from Brixton blazed his own trail throughout his career, which endeared him to the Goodison faithful. This was in part down to his famous winner in the Merseyside derby, which places him firmly in Everton folklore.
The ball bounces kindly there for Barnby. Jeffers turns it forward. Campbell's onside. Everton have scored. What a start!
The highlights of the latter years of Campbell's career came during another relegation dogfight, this time for West Brom. Campbell's goals ensured the Baggies completed the greatest of escapes, becoming the first side ever to be bottom of the top flight on Christmas and survive.
The cheers have gone around the Hawthorns. The news has come through. Brian Robson's Baggies are staying in the Barclays Premiership.
Kev was also a much-loved member of the talkSPORT family. He regularly appeared on our shows, turning his hand to anything, whether it be providing in-studio analysis, post-game reaction, or being part of our award-winning commentary team. One of a kind and loved by all. Rest in peace, Kevin Campbell.
Really sad news. Everton tweeting out, everyone at Everton is deeply saddened by the death of our former striker Kevin Campbell at the age of just 54. Not just a true Goodison Park hero and icon of the English game, an incredible person as well. As anyone who ever met him will know, R.I.P. Super Kev. Arsenal sending out the same news. Kevin was adored by everyone at the club. All of us are thinking of his friends and family at this difficult time. Rest in peace, Kevin. Let's talk to Perry Groves. Hey, Perry.
Good morning, Perry.
Morning, boys.
I'm really sorry to call you. You know the nature of this, to get you on to talk about a mate and a former teammate, because it's just so sad, isn't it?
Devastated doesn't cover it, Max. Even though we all knew that he was ill, he was taken poorly about a couple of weeks ago, and we knew, Kev's a fighter, and you were willing for him to sort of pull through, and you get this news, and it just, like, life is it's so unfair. You think in your life, that you think about all things that are in your own life that go wrong, and I'm still trying to. I've got to be honest. I'm still trying to process it because most of us, 99% of us, have character defects. Super Cat didn't have one. He didn't have one character. And everybody, all the clubs that he played for, will say what a fantastic player he was. But I'm not just you guys into say, he was an even better human being. And everybody who met him, he lit up the room when he walked in. He's very humble, and I've known him since he was a teenager. I've known him 38 years, and we lost Alan Miller, a couple of years ago, at a very young age. And this sounds really. If people pass away when they're 75, 80, I can sort of, you know what I mean? I can process that. I can go, okay. When someone that I've known when I was at Arsenal in the youth team, and passes away, like for Kev's family, for his immediate family, children, mums. I really can't comprehend yet. And like, there will be a huge outpouring of love and respect for Kev. A huge, and everything will be heartfelt. Trust me. He was such a fantastic person.
That's it. He was just such a lovely bloke. And I think you're right. It is no age. 54 is no age, right? And it's, you're speaking incredibly well, Perry, considering it, it's so raw, and we really appreciate that. And I'm always conscious of, of trying to sort of do someone justice, right? Yeah. When you're in this position and you're doing that, and like to play with as well.
What did he offer on the pitch, Perry?
Well, what? If you could imagine across between Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins, and because he came in, Tom said there in his clip, when he broke into our team, we won the title in 1991. He came in at the end of the season, and I think he was 21, young. He scored 8 goals in 10 games, and that was under severe pressure, right? And he didn't change. It's easy for someone that young, to come in and go, right, I am, Billy, whatever.
Yeah.
Billy big time. And he didn't change. And the other thing as well, when he came into the side, we signed Wrighty. So you had 2 of the all-time greats, Alan Smith and Ian Wright, and Kev was still playing 30 games a season and scoring goals. And he was, his nickname was Rambo. That when he first came into the team, because he was because normally you have players who are very strong physically, and they are too strong for the youth team, and they're too strong for the reserve. And you think, all right, you come up against men, we'll see how good you are. He used to batter 6'4" defenders around, smash them around it. Yeah. And I can remember talking to Bob Mills, and Kev went on loan to Leyton Orient, and they said all the Orient fans, and he was probably only about 19 then, and they thought, there's this player coming from Arsenal. What's his attitude going to be like? I know he's big, but he's playing men now. And they said after 15 minutes, everybody looked at Kevin and thought, he's far too good for us. Like, we know we're going to milk that time we've got. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're going to embrace. I think he scored 8 or 9 goals for Orient, and they went up. They got promotion that season, but he couldn't. He came back. He couldn't play in the playoff final. So, and then that as a player, right? So he's making his way up, and he's obviously played at top of the league. But the thing that says the most thing I think about his character is, then when the team's at the bottom of the league and he goes there, at Everton and West Brom, and he still plays exactly the same. Now, whether the team, with teammates around him who are, best players in the country, or players that are struggling, he took that responsibility and that leadership, and it's. I really
can hear it in your voice, Perry. It's your friend, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're in a all group together, with the Arsenal, and and I got a message from him. He was ill like in February. We knew that, and then we all sent messages, and I got a message from him in April, and we thought, oh great, Kev's out there. So it's to think on one hand, oh that's great, Kev's out. It looks like he's on the road, and then hear 2 weeks ago that he's struggling, he's back in hospital, and then this it is I don't. I hope I've just the person that Kev was as well. You know what I mean? And this one, honestly, his spirit and his soul will always be with us, always.
Mate, you've spoken so well, Perry, and it's such a difficult thing to do. This text just says, "Can you please pass fans' love to Perry too? Check he's doing okay. Speaking so well at such a sad time." Perry, really appreciate you coming on, pal. Thank you, mate. Stay well. Cheers, pal.
Hug a loved one, boys. Hug someone you love.
Cheers, Perry. Perry Groves there, obviously a teammate of Kevin Campbell's. It's really sad. It's really gutting because we all knew him and he was such a nice guy, had such energy. And if you are, I know for that, you can just see it on social media, Arsenal fans and Everton fans and Forest fans as well. If you met him, if you knew him, if you want to share your stories, you can. That's exactly what we're here for. 03717 223344. Weirdly, just seeing Kevin Campbell on Sky on a show that I hosted with Paul Merson. Fantasy football is on Sky Sports News at the moment. Just him telling stories about his career.
He did. I tell you what, he never did anything half speed. No.
He was on.
He was on.
Yeah.
If you booked him, he turned on. He knew his stuff.
Yeah.
He'd have a line for you.
Yeah.
He'd look smart.
Yeah.
And he'd give you it. He'd give you exactly what you want, and that must have been how he was as a player and as a human.
Yeah. Phil says, I saw Kev score a hat-trick in the 1988 FA Youth Cup final at Highbury. Of course, he went on to play for the first team after that. Lovely young man who always had time for the fans. Rest in peace, says Kevin. Ian and Irvin says, beautiful tributes from Tom, and then Perry there. Well done to talkSPORT. What a player Kevin Campbell was. More importantly, what a man. The news this morning about 2 men passing away puts a lot of things into perspective, of course, as well. It's the incredibly sad news about the Millwall keeper, Matija Sarkic, who is aged 26 away on international duty. And, someone you don't know, but 26 is nothing, isn't it? It's a child, and it's incredibly sad. We will keep paying our respects to Kevin Campbell, who's died at the age of 54 in just a second.